Hello viewers and welcome to Daily Politics. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Hamza Idris. Former Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State has been chosen as the new national chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. He takes over from Senator Abdullahi Adamu, who stepped down in a situation surrounded by controversy last month. Ganduje's election took place during the 12th National Executive Committee caucus gathering of the ruling party in Abuja. Exclusive reports from Daily Trust had previously indicated that President Bola Tinubu had expressed interest in seeing Ganduje take over from Adamu. Additionally, Ajibola Bashiru, a former Senate spokesperson, has been officially confirmed as the party's national secretary. Besides Tinubu, Vice President Kashim Shettima, many governors and key figures of the party were in attendance at the NEC meeting. Recall also that the position of the vice chairman northwest of the party was left vacant following the resignation of Salihu Lukman, the previous occupant of the office, as a protest over previous speculations that the former Kano governor will be named as successor to Abdullahi Adamu. Elsewhere, just a day after initiating countrywide demonstrations against the withdrawal of fuel subsidy, the organized labor has decided to halt its intended strike action. Festus Osifo, the president of the Trade Union Congress, revealed this during an interview earlier on Thursday morning. He shared that the labor representatives who had previously engaged with President Bola Tinubu secured certain commitments for immediate implementation in relation to the concerns raised by them. Osifo clarified that the suspension of the strike was a result of these developments. We reported earlier on Tuesday, August 1, that the Nigerian Labour Congress announced its intention to proceed with the planned nationwide mass protest after discussions with the federal government. Comrade Joe Ajero, the president of the NLC, had pointed out that the talks with the government did not produce any positive changes or concessions that will cause them to change their course of action. He emphasized their unwavering dedication to representing the interests of and wishes of Nigerian workers and the public. And viewers, we'll be continuing with the conversation of yesterday on the state of the nation and what Nigerians should expect as the outcome of the face-off between the federal government and the organized labor. And joining us to discuss this and much more, we have the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, in the 2023 presidential election, Prince Adeole Adebayo. He joins us virtually from the United States. Welcome to the program, sir. We're happy having you, Prince. How is the US there?
Well, we're here. Yeah, things are getting okay here. Everyone is struggling with their own issues. Yeah. Just like back home in Nigeria, we're tackling our own issues. Here too, that's how the society here is tackling with its own issues.
Do they also have protests as ours due to maybe high cost of energy and all that?
So in America, protest is normal. People protest all the time, either one issue or the other in different states of the country, and it's seen as a First Amendment right here, and I think that's how it is in Nigeria also. Over time, people in the United States have carved out issues of interest for them. The government to it all the time. So where you are on the streets of Washington, D.C., you see protests around the Congress, protests in other places. And I think in many cities of the U.S., it's a normal thing. People get used to that already.
Yes, I know even though you are out of the country, certainly your attention is in Nigeria. Have you monitored the protests yesterday? And what was your impression? Was it really a genuine protest by the labor leaders, or you had a second thought about how they went out en masse and moved to the National Assembly, and they also went out in all parts of the country?
I think that the issues at stake are issues of public concern, and the labor unions, whatever you might think of their leadership or their choices in recent times, they still have a role to play in society. And the role they are playing is to draw government's attention to the interests of their members. There are some occasions where the interests of their members might coincide with the concerns of the public. So members of the public might also want to align with them and express their mind to the government. I think that what happened yesterday was okay. I haven't got the full reports if there are injuries or other damage to public goods. But I think that it's, for the report I've got, no life was lost. The arrests were minimal. I wasn't happy about some damage to the National Assembly entrance gate, but I hope that is not the case in other places. But overall, the engagement with the president, they appear to be happy about it. The labor. So I think when it comes to ventilation of issues, the protest has ventilated the issues. Whether it's going to resolve the issues, because the issues are issues of economics, and they are issues of the policy of the government that has been democratically elected. Yeah. And when you elect a government, you elect them together with their advertised policies. And where these policies have some effects that you don't like, you can ventilate back to the government, and then you keep the dialogue going on. But what we do after the protest is more important than the protest. The protest is not going to resolve anything, but it's going to let the government know that there are other stakeholders. And I think the way the government has responded has shown that the government too understands the issues. They are not taking so many days. You know, in the past, you have protests that will last days upon days before even junior level people in government would intervene. I think the government has intervened at the highest level. And prior to that, maybe on the eve of that protest, there has been a national broadcast where the president tried to make his case. And I think, so it's a democratic engagement. So we are not to evaluate it on the merit otherwise, but to show that each person played their role. The role of the labor leaders is to remind the government that they represent a segment of the populace that maybe the government may overlook in its policy options. And also the government has demonstrated that they understand what the labor leaders are saying. They may not agree with them, but they understand what they are saying. And the two of them, looking at things together, might be able to have a better view of each other. We're a democracy. I think people also have been itching for some action. It's been a long time. People protested about something. So it gave some people room to exercise that right, which could be in doubt sometimes if you don't exercise them. The right that you can protest against your government. It is your right as a citizen. And I also think that people are hurting, and if the government is as quick to respond in terms of policy changes as they were quick to respond to the protests, they might make more progress than otherwise.
Okay, looking at what the president said during his speech, of course, he made some promises, like providing 3,000 vehicles, like releasing some money for SMEs, among others. The Labour said they were not convinced, and that was why they went out yesterday. And from their engagement, what came to us, the only addition, I think, which is visible, was the promise that Port Harcourt refinery will come to life by December. Do you think this is enough for the Labour to now say, okay, we have shelved the strike, or you think there is actually an underground deal between them?
Really, there shouldn't have been any protest to start with, because the government policies and every adult who listen to other presidential candidates, you should know where everyone was going. So if someone says, I'm going to eliminate fuel subsidy, I am going to unify the foreign exchange, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they get elected and they are doing exactly that, that is natural. So And the labor movement could join other stakeholders to speak to the government. They could speak to the government on their own. But they went out. Maybe they wanted the government to take them more seriously. So I think a one-day demonstration or protest is enough. It's not about how long the demonstration is. It's about what you achieve out of it. And the government telling them that the Port Harcourt refinery would work, well, it should work, whether there was a protest or not. So, but anything, any reason, excuse, justification given to restore peace, to restore tranquility, to allow the economy to work, and to allow people to cope, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to second guess them, because I rather have no protest, the robust engagement on policy issues. It's not only labor. Even I am engaging the government publicly, I'm not going to them, but when they initiate their policies, I engage them. I let them know that I don't agree with some of the things they are doing, just because I want them to correct as much of it as they believe they can correct. So it is not in anyone's interest to have a volatile situation, and labor should be careful not to be seen to be too partisan and overplay their hand. So everyone behaved maturely yesterday, as far as I'm concerned, and I hope that labor would focus more on productivity, focus more on getting their members who are in the public services to make things work for the public. It's actually their members who are running the refineries. They are the one working there. They're the one receiving salaries, even when the refineries are not working. It's their members that are in charge of subsidy payment. Labor is very strong in the country. And if labor becomes a moral force in the country, it's good for the country. And they can be partners with the government. There's nothing to be ashamed of. If I had been elected as president, I would have been a partner to the labor unions, a partner to the workforce, because the president's policies are not going to be implemented by the president himself. They will be implemented through the Nigerian Public Service, and the members are members of the TUC and NLC. So I don't want us to think that they are supposed to be rivals and they're supposed to tango, and then one is trying to defeat the other. No. If they see reason to work together, sometimes both of them can agree and both of them can be wrong. So even members of the public still has to intervene. If, for example, they think that they can increase minimum wage to a not sustainable level, where one, the government may not be able to pay it later and it will become an industrial problem, or where it's going to lead to inflation, or where allocative efficiency of government resources will not be optimal. We can speak and say, look, there are other ways by which you can improve workers' welfare without just nominal increase of salary. So there are areas where they disagree and they can work it out. There are areas where they agree. Even if they agree, it doesn't mean that the agreement is good for the country. So long and short is to keep it dynamic, but the spirit is that the government itself is an agent of the public. So there isn't, if you damage the economy, you're not damaging Tinubu's economy. You're damaging the economy of the whole country. If the economy works, not working for the president alone, it's working for everybody. So that's why I want us to understand that. And if we do understand that, we won't have an adversarial approach to every issue in this country.
Yes, I asked the question because some people in Nigeria think that the protest is to some extent a gimmick. And this is evident in the fact that, for instance, in Abuja, we didn't see people outside the organized labor participating in the protest of sort. And some people are saying this is because they have lost hope. There is disconnect between the citizens and the labor, which years back, people see them as, last resort, and they believe in them. Why do you think that Nigerians, despite the biting difficulty they are going through, are a bit relaxed and appear hopeless?
Well, let's look at it this way. The labor union represents its members. So it's not every person in the public that is a member of the labor union. And it's not every member of the labor union that will agree with the position of the Labour leadership. And it's not everyone who agrees with their perspective or points that will agree with the method of enforcing it. So not everyone will say, let's go out on the street. So the important thing about the protest is that you draw the attention of the authorities. It doesn't have to be too big or violent or rancorous. No. Even a citizen carry one placard and standing at a junction, a public street, is enough for conscientious public officers to take note of the concerns of that public protest. So I want Nigerians to get used to protests that are not violent, that are not disruptive. Just indicates that this is my concern. These are the areas I am not happy about, or we are not happy about. These are the recommendations we have for the government. That should be enough. So we should get used to a society where even the smallest protest gets the attention of the highest authority. That is a good way to go about it, not the very difficult ones we used to have in the past, disturbance of public order and all that. And we ought to know that we now have civilian government, democratically elected governments. So it's not like the days of the military where their legitimacy was always in question. Yeah. And they needed the public acclamation every day to show that they are the government in power. Now, once you elect a government, they are there for 4 years. And whatever mandate they are carrying out, whether you agree with it or not, you have to know that it might be the mandate that majority of citizens have given to them. That doesn't mean that they are right on all issues, but when you are giving them suggestions or opposing their measures, bear in mind that they are publicly elected by majority of Nigerians, and we also have representatives in National Assembly and other legislative houses. And those representatives are supposed to be consulting with their constituents. So they also have a way of reaching out to know what the public wants. So it is not only Labour that can tell the government what the public wants. The government knows how to reach the public as well. So moderation is good. Yeah. So what Labour did yesterday was okay. They played their role and they didn't overdo it. And the government, if they are sincere about what they said they would do, that will take the country further. It doesn't mean that it's going to solve all the problems, because they are macroeconomic in nature and they need time and they need a basket of policies coming together for us to get to where we are going.
Okay, if I get it right, I think the last time the government, or let me say president or his vice, had direct contact with the Labour was during Jonathan, I think, when he was vice president. I may be wrong, but throughout the 8 years of former President Muhammadu Buhari, we didn't witness something like this. I don't know whether the situation then did not warrant it. Now that we have Tinubu having direct engagement with the Labour, is this a positive thing for Nigeria? And what hope do you think the citizens should now nurse? What hope do you think they should have? What trust do you think they should have in government and the Labour that intercedes between them?
Okay, now let me break a few things down. One, every government has its own method or style of reaching or engaging stakeholders. So some might be doing it before in front of TV, some might do it at the highest level, some might do it at the middle level or low level, some might do continuous engagement that don't require cameramen to be there. But most important thing is that you can't govern in a democratic space without engaging stakeholders, without getting feedbacks, without communicating your policies. So what the president has done is one way to do it. That is the Tinubu style. You know that Tinubu is a man, with due respect, who came from the streets. He didn't come from the barracks. So he's been part of the left movement, though he has moved far to the right now in terms of policy, but in governance. Yeah. But he came from the left. He used to be a social democrat. They used to be the Nadeko. They used to be the people behind the people who will demonstrate or protest. So he has a constituency familiarity. So these are his people, so he will engage with them. But we should not assume that Labour is the mediator between the people and the government. That is not correct. Okay. Labour is the mediator between its members. So they are going to the president in the State House to talk about the welfare of their own members. And there are some areas where the interests of labor and the public might coincide. For example, the average motorist will want lower cost, cheaper fuel. So if labor is discussing cheaper fuel, for the public will be happy. But if labor is discussing higher minimum wage for their members, that's not in the interest of the public. That's the interest of their own members only. And if they are talking about some other things that is only relevant to their own advancement, then the public needs to be conscious and say, okay, this one they are doing for themselves, this other one they are doing for the public. But the most important issue is that government policies would have consequences, some intended, some unintended. And the test should be three. One, is the government implementing a program that it has informed the public about at the time they were seeking the mandate? If it is yes, are they communicating what they are doing so that there is no doubt as to what they are doing and there is no room for us to speculate? So if they are doing that, thirdly, what role do citizens want to play in either giving the government feedback or adjusting their lifestyle to suit the situation they have authorized the government to bring about? So those are the things you continuously have to deal with, because governance is about trying to solve problems that we publicly identified using public resources over a period of time. And the government is the agency to do that. So if we say we are going to handle a problem, we're going to handle it. And during election time, different political parties, different candidates bring different ideas as to how to solve a particular problem. If you endorse one method, then you have to let that method work for a bit so that you can understand the consequence of what you endorsed. So for me, even though I oppose the immediate removal of subsidy, I rather would have it audited so that the waste and the corruption can be removed. And I would rather invest my resources on getting local refinery to work, and at the same time trying to create multimodal transportation that will not let the public rely on petrol. But all of that is now water under the bridge, because we canvass all of that. I think I came to your studio to canvass the position of the Social Democratic Party and my presidency at that time. But now the government in power is doing exactly what he said he would do. And what he said he would do is what other parties close to them in ideology, Labour, PDP, so said they were going to do. So Nigerians should just be sure that as they are making sacrifices, those who are in government too are making sacrifices, so that it's not a one-sided sacrifice. So if the Nigerian public is having to drive less and then walk more, ride bicycles and all other ideas, public transportation, the government is suggesting, those who are in the higher echelon of government too should show a sign that they too are making adjustments by reducing the cost of governance, by also making sure they also use what they are recommending to others to use. It's not bad if half of the ministers ride bicycles to the Federal Executive Council meeting, since they want us to ride bicycles too. And it's not a bad idea if they start to use buses when they go to the villa to go and have their Wednesday meeting, Federal Executive Council meeting. We don't want 54 ministers or 45 ministers driving 45 convoys. The Secretary of Government and the rest of them should leave the State House in one or two buses, and they should drop them off in their ministries. So all these symbolisms will let the public know that they too are taking the medicine that they're recommending to the public.
Yes, you see, some commentators believe that we are where we are now because the action taken by the president on his first day in office was wrong. If he had, chew it more and consult, we wouldn't have been in the mess we are now. People can't go to work, people can't eat, people have parked their vehicles and all that at a great cost to the economy. Do you believe in this also? And what way will you have adapted if you were the president?
Well, the president has the authority to do what he's doing, because he told the public, when you elect me as president, on day one, I will remove subsidy. And there's nothing anybody can do. I'd rather not be in that office than let it last one more day. And he also said, you can protest for as long as you want. I am going to remove it. So, and people said, go ahead and do so, because majority of the votes went to him. So he has far more votes than I have. So whatever is the merit or was the merit of my argument, I can't raise it now because the public had voted for him to say, go and do exactly what you said you're going to do. And he has kept his word. So he did not. We will say that it's a Dana manner. He's keeping to his word. And the Igbos will say it's a Kweme. So he's doing what he said he would do. And he never said it was not going to be difficult. It should be very clear. So for me, I don't want to over-politicize it. The time I will open it again will be in 3 or so years when we are going back to contest. Then I hope the country will be far better than it is now. And I pray to God that the president succeeds in whatever he's trying to do, because his success is good for the country. But whatever shortcomings they have at that time, we will go back to the public and review and say, 4 years ago, all of us came before you. And we said we were going to find different solutions to these problems. So you gave your mandate to the APC and to President Bola Tinubu. Now, are you happier now? And look at these areas which we think we have a better idea than them. And then we go and converse again. But while they have the mandate now, we should let them implement their programs, because sometimes something may be difficult at the beginning, and maybe they make one or two mistakes, or they're just getting the hang of it. And midway, things might be much better. So we should not deny the people the experience of what the president wants to do for them. But we are in the sideline. We are cheering them up. We are praying for them to succeed. But if they drop the button, we'll collect it. But so what I can do now is not to pretend that the election has not taken place, and I continue to argue like before. But there are a few mistakes they have made, and I pointed them out in many interviews. They made mistakes in the fact that originally, for the decision to remove subsidy right away, whether it was them or any other party, that would be a big mistake. It's clear now. Secondly, we need to be more. They've taken too much time in putting their government together. But luckily for them, they are putting it together now. So I was concerned that they might be held down longer in the Senate because they took too much time. But luckily, the Senate appears to just let them pass through. So now they may catch up. So let them have their first executive council meeting. Then we'll see where they are going. I've had some comments from some of their nominees. For example, Mr. Wale Edun saying that the fair price of the naira is 700 naira to the dollar. So I hope that is not a policy trust that he's talking about. I hope it's just a general commentary on status quo today, because I would expect them to target like 400, not targeted by defending the naira with government dollars, but by putting together a macroeconomic condition that would trend towards strengthening our productive capacity, and our naira will naturally appreciate. So there are areas we are watching out for them. It's difficult to run the presidency without ministers. Just stay in the State House. And many of the policy pronouncements that the president is making are pronouncements that he's making out of legacy policies that he met on the ground. So let me see the direction they are going, so that we can actually tackle them so that they can succeed more, and tackle them so that the public can benefit from the policies they are bringing. And then we can also tackle them to know where there are shortcomings that are beyond their capacity. Then we can tell the public that, look, this area is beyond their capacity. Why don't you give us the mandate next time to do it better than they are doing it now? But I think that it's too early days to start pillorying them and opposing everything they are doing, except in a good faith way of drawing their attention to certain blind spots. Because every policy has certain blind spots that the policy maker or the policy implementer may not see. And it's good for everybody to bring those things out. But this is their time in the sun. I will let them enjoy it a bit.
Okay, even though we are going on break in the next minute, I want you to answer this with a word or two. You said Nigerians voted for Tinubu and he told them that he's going to do all these things. Now, are you saying they are actually paying for what they bargained for, the difficulty they are going through?
Yeah, that's it. That's democracy for you. It's an adult. That's why you have to be 18 years old before you go and vote. It's an adult decision. If you decide to take a particular road, whatever hold up you meet on that road is your choice, because you were given different roads you could have taken. And it's too early to cry, because there are more difficult decisions the government has to take. Having taken this path of neoliberal economic policies, there are many choices they have to make along the way. So those choices, not all of them will make the people smile. But people should bear in mind that it's a social contract they've signed with the government, and that if they face any difficulty along the way, they can bring it to the attention of the government as human beings, but they should not assume that they have no role to play in it. They should realize that, okay, it was the kind of decision we took in electing them, and this is what we are going through. And next time they will review it. They may review it and say, oh, thank God we voted them, even though it was hard at the beginning. Or they may review it and say, oh, never again. So that is democracy. That's how we learn.
All right. Okay, we will go on a short break, and when we return, the conversation continues. Don't go away. Welcome back. If you are just joining, you are watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. We still have with us virtually from the United States, Prince Adeole Adebayo, the presidential candidate of Social Democratic Party. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, what is the way forward for Nigeria? Do you think that the coming of the Port Harcourt refinery in December, and most likely, Dangote refinery by August, because they said between July and August, and we're now in August, meaning that in the next couple of weeks, it should start work. Will it bring down the price of fossil fuel so that Nigerians will seek some relief?
Okay, I think that maybe after it hits, all of us should go out of this petrol business that we don't participate in. Number one, Dangote Refinery is a private entity. It's not a public, though the NNPC has some minor stake in it. It's a private company. Those dates are not binding on them. They might have allowed President Buhari the honor of going to commission it. It didn't mean that it was ready. They just wanted him to have that sense of achievement that the thing took place in his time. And I have many years of continuous experience in refinery, in petroleum downstream sector and upstream sector.
Yes.
So I can tell you here that I don't see that refinery producing anything this year, given what I know about the state of the readiness of that refinery of that private company. So it's more likely that you should start thinking of maybe towards the end of next year. But before they become fully operational, it will be 2025. So let us not worry too much about that. Then the other refineries, they have been trying to work out the state of their readiness. Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna. I think that we should try to get them to work, but I think we will need a lead time of not less than 2 years before they can work. So even though the president might have told Labour that it will work by the end of this year, I think that's aspirational. It's good for the president to have that aspiration and to mandate whichever minister he appoints to oversee that department to make that as the top priority. But all of that put together will still not reduce the price of petrol on the street significantly. What the government is doing is that they are going out of price guarantees. They are saying whatever the market offers, that's what you will buy. The same way for other products. So if you want to go and buy a computer set, you want to go and buy a pen, you want to go and buy paper, you want to go and buy food, government is not guaranteeing that you get any of these items at a particular price. Our government is not in the business anymore of telling Nigerians that they will get petrol at any price. So all those climbing down statements are just to calm people down. So people should just set up their mind the fact that the government has gone out of price guarantees completely. So there's no price control. So what will happen is that we will now merge with the international market in terms of the pricing of white products, that is petrol and other byproducts or refineries. So what it means also is that even if we produce locally, the only way we can reduce the costs here is, one, if the logistic is easier, because if you produce in Lagos and you are selling in Lagos, you don't pay shipping as if you bought it from Russia or Turkey or somewhere. So that might reduce the cost. So whatever is the component of the cost that is shipping and logistic may reduce. But other costs may also increase. For example, if something is wrong with your catalytic cracking system and you need to replace one thing there, it might be cheaper for the refinery that is in Russia to replace it than you, because the company that is making that component is located in Russia and they can easily get it. But if you want to fix it, they have to fly it or ship it all the way to Nigeria. So that may also increase your cost on that side. So by and large, don't hope for a time when the price of petrol will be guaranteed. I think what we should hope for is that the government will do other combination of policies that will make productivity to go high in the country. And if productivity goes high, then our incomes level will go high. And we also do segmentation so that those who are really poor would not be direct buyers of petrol. Because in most countries of the world, the poorest of the people are not direct buyers of petrol. Okay. They don't drive cars. They usually will take public transport like trains, buses. So they're not the one directly buying the fuel. They don't use generators at home because the public power supply will be working. So let's journey towards that direction. We might say, oh, it's going to take a long time, but we've been doing this subsidy argument for almost 40 years from Gawan's time. So if we spend another 8 years, 12 years getting ourselves out of that ecosystem completely, and it's not too much. And those are the areas I will have focused on as president to make sure that we don't dislocate. That when you go and ask somebody on the street, you can walk on the street of New York now and ask somebody and say, how much is the price of petrol, which they call gas here? He will say, I don't know, because he doesn't have a car. It takes the bus. So if you go to London, I ask somebody how much is the price of petrol. They will say, why are you asking me this? I don't know. But if you ask anybody in Nigeria, they will tell you how much this one is selling, that one is selling. So we should move away from that. And we should increase our agricultural output. We should increase our other infrastructure. So if we have better road networks, better trains, better buses, the 3,000 buses that the government is promising, if you do the arithmetic, it will give you about 3 per local government or 4 per local government. So you who are in Abuja there, the whole of Amak, Wuse, Metama, Asokoro, or the Garikis and all of that, then you have like 4 buses from Tinubu. I don't think that will make any difference. But it is a symbolism of trying to let labor people and other watchers believe that the government cares. But I believe that when they settle down, I would expect them to be more robust, to do far better than they are offering. I've criticized them that their so-called palliative is not as robust as even Sure P. And I have to criticize them because I was a critic of Jonathan's Sure P, that it was weak and it was below Abacha's PTF. Abacha's PTF was more far-reaching than Jonathan's P. And unfortunately, Jonathan's P is far better than Tinubu's palliative. So we have to be consistent. It's not that there's no political animosity in that. We have to be consistent when we're evaluating public policies to see that we get the best for our people. So this might be the immediate reaction, a knee-jerk reaction to deal with the protest, but a more robust approach will be expected so that they can invest not less than 3 to 4 trillion in public infrastructure that will give members of the public ease. I don't think that even a notable journalist like you are above taking buses. You know, since I returned to the US, I've taken the train, I've taken the bus, I've not had to drive. I've been driven, I've taken Uber, but I've taken the bus, I've taken the train, I've taken the aircraft. So I think that, and I've taken boats. I've used marine transport, where it's the cheapest. I've used the train, I've used buses, I've used public transport, I've used aircraft. So that multimodal way of transportation is not just because you are removing subsidy. Those are the things that are unique as the agents and drivers of your productivity. Because the one approach to this issue of palliative is to look like as if the government is trying to mollify or compensate people. That is not the essence of government policy. Is that the productivity of the people needs to come out of them. And for the productivity to come out, you need them to give them factors of production. Yeah. So affordable land, affordable capital, affordable tools, affordable labor, affordable infrastructure, affordable cost of production, all these things are necessary for you to get something out of this 200 and something million population that will keep boasting of. If you have 100 million Nigerians fully engaged and each one is giving you $1,000 in terms of output every month, the average Nigerian output will be about $12,000 a year. If you have that by 100 million, you are talking about $12 trillion. So that will make you a strong economy that people will start to respect you. So it's not the thing that we're doing now. So I think we need to start working very hard to see that people can go to work, people can produce, people can go to the farms, people can go to the rivers to fish, people can go into other form of productivity, energy costs will come down. Those are the long-term or medium-term to long-term things that the government will do that will get us out of it. But all these cat and mouse over the price of one or two products is not going to help us. Since the government has taken the plunge, the subsidy is gone for good. And then you can now deal with it. Even when if I become president, I'm not going to bring subsidy back. Because what I wanted to do was to make these adjustments before we phase out of the subsidy. But since they've already created the shock and they've removed it, what is important now is to now they put their cart before the horse. Yeah. So, but if another person comes in, they can change it and put the horse where it should be. But the most important thing is that it should be a wagon that's actually driving forward.
You made me scared when you said that the coming up Dangote, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and all the refineries will not bring down the price of fuel. But government officials keep telling us that it will bring this thing down. Can we say that they are deceiving Nigerians and Nigerians should face the reality? This is one. And then secondly, while citing examples of these social interventions, you skipped the last 8 years of Buhari. You think Tinubu's is worse already, or it's going to be better than what Buhari put on ground during his days?
Tinubu is the junior brother of Buhari, or twin brother or junior brother, but they are from the same father, same mother. So, and the hope you can have is that Tinubu will be better than Buhari, because even Buhari should pray that Tinubu should be better than him. And all of us should pray. I even pray that President Tinubu should be far better than President Buhari, because we want to make progress in this country. And it's my prayer that the president that succeeds President Tinubu, hopefully will be far better than President Tinubu. The idea is that the society must make progress. Yeah. So now, they are in different times. So what President Tinubu is doing is too early to know how he will succeed and how far he will succeed. We can only pray and wish that he succeeds. The reason why I'm on your program is to identify with Nigerians because of the difficult times, and also to identify with the president and make sure that he succeeds. Whether he's from my party or not, whether he was my opponent or not, he needs to succeed for the country to make progress.
But do you think
now,
right, which is
government officials, I'll come to that. Government officials are not God. Many of them are not properly trained in the area where they are manning. They make a lot of mistakes. They repeat assumptions. They things that they are supposed to monitor by themselves, they are waiting for information from the person they're supposed to monitor. Ministry of Petroleum, Ministry of Trade, and all these other Ministry of Industry, all these areas are supposed to know how much progress Dangote Refinery has made. They should be the one even contradicting the company if the company is overpromising. So when the government becomes more efficient, you get more accurate information. So sometimes it's not that they're trying to deceive you, is that what they are telling you is an innocent error or careless error or negligent error. They don't know it. But what is important is that the price will go up and down if they are truly following market forces. But what Nigerians, I'm saying Nigerians should, is that don't have a laser focus on the price of petrol. Pay attention to other things that will make it easier. For example, the price of petrol has increased. But even if it gets to 5,000 naira per liter, I personally will not feel it. Why? Because I'm paying attention to other aspects of life that will make me to be far above the level of complaining about such things. So we need to push more Nigerians into that bracket. And that can be done by making sure that people get more productivity and they get better paid. And then that the society is even more livable to the point where your movement will not be too dependent on these adjustments that are happening all over the world. That it becomes a crisis for you because too many people are in this fragile and vulnerable bracket of income, which by the nature of modern facilitation of productivity, we are supposed to be far above that. So if you look at the amount of food stuff that we produce, we are producing far below what we should be producing. If you look in terms of even the number of roads we are constructing, by now we can't even have medium mini buses that we should produce by ourselves. We don't have full control of our rail infrastructure and things like that. We don't have many areas where we have waterways. We can't even make simple flat bottom boats, another thing that can carry people. So we can't do badges, things that are easy to do. Even our Army Engineering Corps, they can have a bunch of kids in the Army whose job is just to join with Navy people to produce badges, another pontoons. So if you keep
just because of time, can I have your take on the ministerial list?
Product.
Yeah, can I have your take on the ministerial list just in less than 1 minute because we have run out of time. I wish we have more time. Yeah, has he gotten it right?
He knows what he wants to achieve. These people are his people. They campaign with him. So he must have been giving them assignment one way or the other. So he is comfortable with them. They did their Renew Hope together. It's his right. But I believe that he will learn his lesson when he starts working, he may drop some, he may reassign some, he may add more people to the one he has. But right now, this is the state of his wisdom. And it's his prerogative to choose his ministers. There are many of them I wouldn't have chosen. There are some of them I will have chosen, but that's me and that's him. So we should respect that. And that every political party, every major political party is present in the National Assembly. My own party, SDP, is there. No senator objected to anything. It shows that they are happy with it. Labour is there. None of them objected to any of them. It shows that they are happy. The same thing with PDP, the major opposition party. They didn't object to anyone. Even some of their own members are part of the nominees, who are now ministers. And the APC has no problem because it looks like majority of the ministers has come from that party. And the youths are there, women are there. So Christian, Muslim, whatever is the measurement. So he's put that. Now, his own competence is what will rub off on them. The kind of president he is will determine the kind of ministers they are, and then the way we react to them when they start working, whether we want to measure them by good governance or want to measure them by, oh, they are from my village, oh, it's from my town or my religion. If we measure them based on governance, then our assessment of them will be objective and will be productive. And so that is the way to approach it. Right. This is right, and I don't deny him is right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prince Adeole Adebayo, presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, for your informed perspective on these national issues. And I hope we have you some other time. That's a wrap on today's package. We sincerely hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join the Daily Politics Live, airing every weekday, and also our special package on Friday, during which we open our telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Once again, we thank you for watching. Bye-bye. I'm Hamza Idris.